Hey guys, this is Gary from Demigods with my very first tutorial on Ableton and how I put my tracks together, what my techniques are, etc. The first one I wanted to start with is how do I get my samples ready for a track. It's always something I find tricky, and it can take months and months of searching until you find just that one sample that sticks out in your mind and you think, yes, I can do something with that. And then 9 times out of 10 it turns out you can't, and, and it just ends up going in the bin after you've bored yourself to tears listening to it about 1,000 times over. So every so often you get lucky, and I feel I did with this one. Let's get into it. So the original track is, I don't know what it's called, but the artist was Howard Johnson. 70s, 80s soul disco kind of music, and I was particularly interested in this sample because of the time signature. The original track is actually in 6/8, and when I heard that, I knew I'd be able to do something interesting with it, because if you put a 4/4 beat on a 6/8 rhythm, it still sounds in time, but it changes the whole structure of the track, and to the listener, to the ear, it sounds completely different. So let's have a quick listen. This is the original tempo and the original key. I've just got a short 1-bar loop here, so you can hear that it doesn't sound much in time. It's very stop-starty, and that's particularly because of where I've put the stop and put the loop brace. So let's see how I got it to be how it is on my finished track called Howard's Way. Now, first of all, we're going to warp this to be the tempo that I use, which is 122 BPM. It's close enough. Okay, so a lot quicker there, and obviously being faster, it's added in more of the audio into my loop. Well, it's just because I've worked backwards. This is originally the snippet I wanted. When I transpose, I always 99 times out of 100, I will change the key of the track. Let's just pause it a second. The main reason is just to make it sound different from the original. If you do end up using a sample that you don't change the structure of too much, or there's a vocal hook that's really familiar, I always find just changing the transposition 1, 2, maybe maximum 3 semitones either way changes it enough, especially if you start to add in other instrumentation, new bass line, etc, etc. But we'll get to that. So for this one, I went down 2 semitones, so it now sounds like this. Another reason only doing 2 or 3 semitones max either way, because the further you go away, say down to this much, I mean, it just sounds an absolute mess. The audio engine in Ableton's good, but it's not that good. So we shall go back to -2 there. I find for multi-instrumented samples to use the Complex or the Complex Pro feature. It tends to give the best sound quality. If it's just a vocal on its own, I normally mess with the formants and the envelope just to get it sounding more human as you change the pitch. Okay, so we've gone down 2 semitones. It's warped to be 122 BPM, or there and thereabouts. Okay, now there's quite a lot of low-end noise in this as well, so I'll show you what I've got on the effects chain here. So if I just switch all these on, I'm just going to open them all up and mute them one by one, and we'll go from left to right. So first of all, the EQ here, I've cut off quite a lot of the low end and the muddy low mids here, and just brightened up the high mids here. So let's hear it before and after. So there you can really hear the rhythm of the track and the higher elements cutting through a bit nicely there, more nicely. Then I've added some saturation, a fairly standard setting here. I think I've just used the preset a bit warmer. See that before and after. Yeah, it just gives it a bit more gritty feel, makes it stand out in the mix a little more. Moving on, then I've got classic, of course, we've got the sidechain compressor. For my sidechain compressing, I always choose the audio from, I use the kick that I'm actually using in the track. I find if you use any other kicks or just a sine wave MIDI note, it doesn't quite sit so well. You know, for obvious reasons, you want it to duck exactly because it's the same kick. Now, and finally, just a little limiting on there, just because if there's any spikes, we just want to iron those out. So let's have a little listen before and after now of the sample. So you can still, it was funny actually, without the beat in there, it still sounds like a completely different track. It's still like its original self. It's a very 6/8 skippy kind of time signature. Anyway, so there we go. So with all the effects on there, it's really brightened it up. Okay, now let's hear that in context with the rest of the track. Now this is a very, very simple track. I've only got the sample, a slight different bass line, and a drum kit. So here we go. Now you can hear with the 4 on the floor kick there that, let's turn it down a little bit, it's completely changed the rhythm of it, and when I first heard it I thought, yeah, that's great, because it's now kind of made it my own. It's nigh on impossible to tell what the original was. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful. Any questions, comments, please let me know. I'm going to enjoy doing a few more of these, so if you've got any ideas of what you'd like me to talk about, any of my tracks or any other tracks, you know, if you want me to deconstruct any of your favourite house tracks, I'm more than happy to look into that. And subscribe. You might be the very first. Thanks very much. See you soon.